I'm Hannah Lanfear, and I'm a spirits educator by trade, actually. I have my own company called The Mixing Class, and we deliver WSET spirits education. Thanks for coming. In addition to doing quite a lot of diversity work as well. And I love Shochu. I was really lucky. Just before the pandemic started to strike, I was in Japan gadding about visiting Shochu distilleries, thanks to the Japan Tax Agency, who are here today. And I got to visit a whole host of wonderful Shochu and Awamori distilleries, and I just want to share this spirit with you. We've got 3 fantastic cocktails coming up for you, so we'll wet your whistle very soon. But the drinks come as a reward for listening carefully to the information, right? So I'm just going to do a quick primer on what Shochu is and how it's made. And it is a distilled spirit. It's really historic in Japan. I suppose that we can trace back the origins of this distilled spirit to the way that the saccharification of starch evolved by moving east, and a very different tradition evolved in Asia as to the rest of the world. So what we know about making spirits from starchy materials is very different to what they're doing in Japan, China, and Korea. And yeah, it's really a celebration of terroir. Has anyone been to Japan? Not to show off, but I have. I think I mentioned I have. You've been to Japan, sir? Been to Japan, anyone? Okay, well, there's this really wonderful thing that you just don't realize when you get there, that terroir is very much celebrated, not just in spirit, but in everyday foods culture. Hi, Charlotte, come and sit down, please. Name and shame. In food culture as well. So if you travel around Japan, you will go and you will find all of these foodstuffs that are unique to that specific area and to that region and the climate and so on of that local area. And it's the same with Shochu and Awamori. They will make these spirits based on what grows best and remarkably well in specific parts of Japan. So that means that there's an incredible diversity to these spirits, because it's not like, for instance, with Scotch malt whiskey, which is just made from barley. Malt whiskey, let's talk. But we see spirits made from sweet potato, from barley, from rice, from all sorts. So it's a real celebration of terroir and the product of place. So Shochu is really centered in production on the south of Japan. And this is a region that's known as Kyushu, and I'll show you on screen where it is. So this is the southern island, and then you've got this archipelago that keeps moving down into the ocean. And that's where Shochu and Awamori comes from. We'll focus on the differences of each as we go. But if you're interested in Japanese whiskey, and we're not here to talk about that today, then that is made more in the north of Japan. So let's talk a little bit about production. And this is something that will be really unfamiliar to many of you that have never encountered things like sake and Shochu before. It all starts with Koji Mold. Now, when you are breaking down starches to make fermentable sugars so that you can ferment and then distill that ferment, breaking down the starches is normally done in the Western world through either malting, which is germination, which will create enzymes, or maybe cooking and then bringing in purchased enzymes. In Japan, they use Koji Mold, and this is a very specific strain of fungus that is used in a very precise way. It's a member of the Aspergillus family, and it comes in different colors. So you'll get white Koji Mold, yellow Koji Mold, and black Koji Mold. That's black Koji Mold on screen. And the way that this is cultivated is to start with a batch of starch, and very typically this will be rice, and you steam that rice, and then you introduce this very clinical strain of Aspergillus. So if you've steamed your rice, you'll pour in a little seed packet of also rice that's covered in the Koji Mold, and when you open up this steaming chamber the following day, that black mold will have moved through. And it will create enzymes that will help to saccharify the starch so you can ferment it and make distillate from it. But also importantly, it will make flavors. Come and have a seat, by the way. Don't stand at the back. You'll get cocktails if you come over here. Come on. So, black Koji Mold is the one that gets people quite excited, I think, because it's unique to Okinawa. And this is what we'll try when we start tasting some of the different soshus. We've got some awamori to try. It's unique because it will create some vitamin C as it works, which helps keep the ferment acidified and prevent spoilage in this hot climate. They're looking thirsty, Lexa. We're going to have to move up the info, isn't it? Right, these are the different types of soshu that you might encounter, or the different raw materials which are used. You've got mugi, which is barley. You've got imo, hello, how you doing? Which is sweet potato. Kome is rice, soba, buckwheat. Kokuto is raw brown sugar, and I think that doesn't really do it justice, because this is actually basically sugarcane juice that has been boiled until the water is left, and you're left with something a bit like tablet fudge. It's delightful. It's so good. And then we've got awamori. Awamori is a really historic type of soshu. It's called awamori. We don't call it soshu. And this is from Okinawa Island. So, just to walk you through the steps. The first step is what's called the First Murami, and this is making your batch of enzymes by steaming rice, inoculating them with Koji Mold, and then you're going to add that to the main ingredient. So we always are starting with this two-step process, except when we're talking awamori, which is just a one-step. But it is this main ingredient, whether it's going to be barley or rice or sweet potato, that defines the style of soshu that we're going to make. So this is all fermented, koji with water and yeast, and then it will be batch distilled. Batch distillation is the only method that's used when we talk about honkaku soshu. This is single distilled. One distillation is kind of unusual in the distilling world. You know, I teach about spirits that are made all around the world, and it's very unusual to have a single pot still distillation. But this gives us really fantastic complexity to these spirits. They'll be filtered, they'll be stored, and it's quite common to allow any, let's say, alcohol imperfections to resolve in clay jars rather than in wood maturation, as we see elsewhere. Come and sit down, Toby. We're going to have cocktails now, okay? Here's a couple of pictures. These are my holiday snaps. We've got some wooden stills. I bet you only thought there were wooden stills in Guyana. That's not true. They're also in Japan. Stainless stills, and these are sometimes used for vacuum distillation as well, which changes the relation and the volatility for all of the different compounds in this ferment, which is quite interesting. If you want to nerd about that, I'm around. Come and ask me later. So let's talk a bit about how soshu is enjoyed. I think that we should be embracing this spirit here. It's quite commonly bottled at lower ABVs, so when you want to make low ABV cocktails, there are 25% alcohol by volume soshus that are really fantastic in flavour that you can use. We're particularly going to enjoy some 40 ABV rooms today. Look, in Japan, it's often drunk just over ice. You can drink it with hot water, which is lovely, as a highball with soda, and we're going to try one of these now. I think you should get a cracking, Lexa. This is delicious. I'm very excited to share this with you. And then also simply with still water. Now, if that doesn't sound very exciting, you're incorrect. It's delicious. The lovely thing about soshu is that actually it's a really good spirit to pair with eating. And normally I think the idea of having spirits with food, it doesn't move me. But drinking soshu with food, it really does, because it's very cleansing to the palate, and particularly will work with Japanese cuisine, but not just Japanese cuisine alone. And I'm guilty of opening a bottle of soshu and finishing it quite quickly, because I'll have it with my dinner. Okay. Holiday snaps. We're going to give you some samples, and I want you to try an array of soshus, from the rice style to the barley style, a sweet potato style, and a long grain rice style. And we will have these coming out around the room, and we'll talk about them as we go. But first, cocktails. Now, I've got 3 drinks that I want to make for you. I desperately want to show you the diversity of soshu and how good it is to mix with. For those of you that might not work in Artesian or the Kono, it doesn't matter, because actually it's really easy. Does someone work here from Artesian or the Kono? Because I have to shut up if I said that. You don't have to make very complicated drinks to get absolute bang for your buck when it comes to flavour. So we're going to start off with a very simple serve that you all know. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of a highball. A simple mixture of spirit and soda water. But here we're using a Shochu that I have to say I utterly adore. It's called Dayami. Oh, I've got the bottle here. I'm going to show you. There we go. And they do this at 25 ABV, and this is a new edition that they've just released, which is at 40 ABV. And quite simply, I'm going to mix that, ice, and soda. These are on their way out around the room, and I'm just going to pause and take a moment to see your faces as you sip it, because I suspect that you will be amazed by the complexity of this spirit. It's nice, right? I'm going to make one for Lexa, because Lexa's making more for you, but Lexa's thirsty, so I'll make her a big one. Always got your back. Now, the tradition when you're making a highball is to stir it 13 times in an anti-clockwise direction and 1 stir back. But I left my spoon over here, so I'm coming to get that. Did I leave my spoon? Yeah, I'm taking yours. Thank you. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half back. How is it? Isn't it nice? So the thing about Dayami is it's made from sweet potato, and I suspect that many of you hear sweet potato and you think, that doesn't sound, it's different, it's unusual. But the sweet potato that is grown in Kagoshima is grown in the foothills of a volcano. And the soil is really fertile. And it means that you get these sweet potatoes that are unlike any that you'll try anywhere else on Earth. And when you try them when they're fresh, they've got these very floral, almost like tropical fruit notes. And I think you try this and you can taste the lychee, you can taste the rose petal. And this is thanks to flavor compounds called monoterpenoids that give us these rose petal and lychee flavors. Okay, did you like it? Very simple serve. You could do that at home very easily. Well, we'll move on to the next one in that case. Diana. Does anyone like a martini? Classic martinis? You, sir, you're ready. I can see that your face says you're ready. Well, I want to show off how you can mix with awamori. Awamori is quite an unusual spirit. I think more than any other spirit that you'll ever try, you will get true savory flavors from it. You can taste mushroom. You can taste pickled walnut. It's got an absurd array of flavors. We've got one for you to try on its own, by the way. Now, to try and accentuate these savory flavors, it'd be too easy just to put it in a Bloody Mary and just have done with that. But instead, we're going to make you a riff on a martini. And I'm using, actually, a batch that I made yesterday because it was easier. And I wanted to serve all of you at once. So that's what we've done. Yeah, I think it's coming from the back. Martini, yeah, please. So the idea of making a Gibson was all about taking these very savory, mushroomy flavors and countering them with something sweet. So I'm using white Belsazar, so it's a vermouth that has a little bit of sweetness and just really lovely spicing and botanical flavors as well. And then we're going to put some pickles in the mix. And we've got savory, sweet, and the sour note as well. Actually, the three together make a really lovely harmony and will get your palate very excited. So those are coming from the back. They're going to be poured for you. I'm going to make one out front. I'm going to be 40 next year. So I don't make big martinis anymore because that's a mugs game. You don't need a big martini, did you know? Because I didn't know for a really long time, but then I nearly got to 40 and I was like, oh, you could have a small one. That's better. It's nicer. I've lost my bottle of martini. Oh, no, I know. I know where I put it now. I hid it in here. There we go. So, for me, and I don't know about you, but everything in making a martini is about the temperature and the dilution and getting these factors absolutely perfectly balanced between one another. My target for temperature is -3. That's how I like my martinis, really, really cold. And I'll even put them in the freezer and finish them if I've been making them from cubed ice. I'll put them back in the freezer and let them properly get cold. So I'm hoping that we've got close to that temperature for you. When it comes to dilution as well, I was aiming for about 20 mils to a full-size martini. Does that make sense? About a quarter water. Oh, it rhymes. Now, Gibsons are usually garnished with a pickle. Pickled onions is the one. Hello, welcome, nice to meet you. But I went a little bit different here, and I wanted to, again, bring some flavors of Japan. We're not having an olive, don't get excited. So I've got some Japanese pickles. And these are also coming around the room. You want to accost this man because he's got the drinks. Grab him, take them. And so what we've got is a pickled radish, a pickled cucumber. That's pretty. That's some of my best work, actually, Lexa. Even if I say so myself. So there we go. I was supposed to put them on these lovely. There we go. Would you like a martini? Okay. Then you may have it. Yeah, please. I'm like, oh, I don't trust my hands. I'm not allowed to smash that glass. It's a family heirloom. Okay. What do you think? Nice? Very unusual flavors, right? Really savory, truly savory. And actually, normally, when we talk about savory flavors and distillates, we're gesturing towards the idea of savory. We are talking about, things that remind us of savory things. But this is truly savory. What do you think, sir? Tasty, yes. Right, I would like to introduce you to a gentleman that I met in Japan, Shizuo Nagumo. He used to work in London, actually. I don't know if anyone met him. Did some stints. But he's gone back to Japan, and he now has an empire of very highly regarded cocktail bars. So, in homage, really, to a drink that he made me, I wanted to show you what I think is the pinnacle of Japanese cocktail culture. And this is quite a simple flavor combination of a barley Shochu, Yamanomori, and it's been infused with buckwheat tea, actually. I say tea, but it's actual buckwheat. And I infused it from Friday through to today, took it off the buckwheat. And it gives us some really surprising flavors. If anyone wants to try the infused Shochu alone, you're more than welcome. We've got some spare. So I'm going to use that. Buckwheat infused Yamanomori. Yamanomori is a really interesting Honkaku Shochu. It's like very traditional Mugi Shochu, and it comes from a very unique island, the Iki Island. It's highly flavorful, and I think the rest of the cocktail seems quite simple. Bit of lemon, sugar, pineapple juice. But then the twist is some roasted miso powder. And I slow roasted this. Actually, it's been in my oven pretty much all morning, so I had to come here. And it starts to undergo Maillard reaction, so these roasted flavors that come through the baking. Lexus, you have tried that before, but every single time you try it, it's a taste sensation. Yeah, I get that. Again, you're very welcome to try it. It's so tasty. And I think what you've got there is this lovely marriage between the barley Shochu, so the Mugi Shochu, amplified by barley miso powder and these lovely flavors of roasting, which then have created this lovely overlap and harmony with the buckwheat tea. So I hope you're going to enjoy this. I'll let Lexa make some noise. You can make some noise for Lexa making some noise. Yeah. I feel like I should probably help you shake, to be honest, but let's be honest, my bartending days are done. Ooh! Did not do that. I don't think there's space. It's like you can't get away with any sneaky mutters on this. Oh, no, I do, yeah. I do it on the floor, though. Right. Okay. So Lexi's got these cocktails coming out for you. I'm going to cobble one together over here while she does that. Yeah, it didn't. Set up a glass there. But it's all good. I'll put it in one of these. Oh, sorry. It's all right. Getting in the way. Oh, thank you. Okay, so now we've got you all warmed up with a couple of drinks in here. Should we taste some Shochu? So I'd like you to try them in its neat format. And, oh look, that was me earlier making miso paste. I'll come back to that. We'd really like to celebrate the diversity and flavour here. So we've got a selection of 4 regional styles for you all to try. We will begin with, ooh, just like that. It's like we're linked by sound. We're going to start off with a lovely rice Shochu. And I feel like to truly understand this spirit, comparing them up side by side is the way to do it. So we've got these coming out quite rapidly, quite quick fire. This one is Jinmei, and we're starting over here on this side. This one is made from rice. And rice Shochus tend to have a very subtle flavor to them. You might spot some intricacies of floral, fruity characteristics, but there is a subtlety here. So when you are looking for elegance, this is a wonderful place to start. Is it nice? Yeah? I can't take the credit for that cocktail, actually. This is, yeah. Mr. Nagumo's. Yeah. You like it? Oh, well. It's very gratifying to see you enjoy these cocktails. Good. Okay, so whenever you're ready, please explore. Oh, I'd love one. Thank you so much. Well, it's nice to taste together, so kanpai. Cheers to all of you. We're going to start with light and keep working to something bigger and beefier. Do you spot any fruit characteristics here? No fruit will have touched this, but really this is esterification that's taking place in the fermentation, and it's coming over in distillation. They use white koji. White koji is what's giving these almost very faint twigglety characteristics, a little bit of something savory. We're then going to taste the Yamanomori. Just want a pat on the back, which will be coming out thick and fast, I think. Now this is the Shochu that we used in the cocktail. So this is the one that you're going to try it now without the buckwheat. Ooh, thanks. Oh, Lex, you did a smashing job on that. Oh. I feel like it's become a free-for-all, and I think that could be my fault. The last one of the day. Okay, so you're trying Yamanomori. This is going to be a mugi soju this time. So this is made with barley as the raw material. It's very traditional honkaku soju. So this is made 2 parts barley to 1 part koji rice. My relationship to barley has probably historically been about whiskey or maybe about vodka, but it's really nice to taste this and compare it to what you already know about other barley spirits, because it's got this shortbready characteristic that to me is really the essence of the raw material coming through. So this is full flavoured. You are going to get lots of lovely richness on the palate. I love it when people bring me drinks. It's got a lovely soft texture and really wonderful length. The flavour just goes and goes. Are you missing a sample? What makes this different? The question is, what makes this different to other barley spirits or soshus? Well, soju is made in a very different style. It starts off with the Koji Mold. So when we're saccharifying the starch, it's using enzymes that are created by a fungus, essentially, Aspergillus fungus. But I would stress that whereas other Asian spirit traditions that you see, the use of fungal enzymes is a really broad spectrum. For instance, in Baiju, you are allowing for all sorts of natural bacteria and yeast to show up just by exposing your starch to the atmosphere. This is very different. This is clinically selected one type of enzyme that has been transferred to the rice and then introduced to the starches. So it's very precise. And then, in addition to that, you've got the single distillation, lower distillation strengths, really quite different. If you are distilling a ferment, if you're distilling it to high ABVs, there is a compression of the alcohol and also the flavor. This is a single distillation, 1 pot still distillation in honkaku. This one is, I knew that when I started, 25 ABV. I would say that 25 is quite a typical ABV when it comes to soju. And I have to, again, point to my age and say that I've started to really like spirits that are not quite so strong, because this is lovely. You can drink it over ice and you can actually session it throughout a meal and it goes really, really well. Have you tried it? Okay. So, the emo soju, if you please. I think I've got a picture of this one. I do not. So these final 2 are really just quick fire opportunities for you to taste in different styles. And I would just like to tell you all that there is the wonderful Japan Pavilion right over there. So on the other side of the room, you've got the opportunity to go and learn much more about soju, and directly from producers, directly from the Japan Pavilion. So please do go and explore this more. And furthermore, take a photo. That's not what you do with the QR code, is it? Take the image of the QR code and you will be taken to even more information if you would like to learn more. The emo soju, we've already tried one. We tried a dayame. This is actually really quite an unusual style when it comes to emo soju. These lychee and rose petal notes are not prevalent through all of them. So I wanted to show you a second type that is perhaps a little bit less tropical. And then finally, we've got the Ruku, which is an awamori for you. Awamori is all about the funk and these lovely savoury flavours. Has anybody got any questions? Thank you very much. Please do.
Which is like The time for the fermentation time for the first one that we tried.
So fermentations are done in clay. Yeah, and they will take days because this is semi-solid fermentation. So they're mixing these huge clay jars with paddles over a spell of days, if not weeks. That's where you're getting all of that fruity esterification from. Oh, the Dayami, this one that was in the cocktail. Come to stand afterwards and we'll compare them side by side. Right, finally, the Awamori, and then we're done. I feel like we've really given you plenty of booze, which is no bad thing at the end of Imbibe. I would like to say thank you very much to the Japan Tax Agency. Give them a hand, if you please. I would like to say thank you very much to Lexa, who's actually been making all the drinks while I gathered about and didn't have any glassware to put my drinks in. So well done, Lexa. Thank you very much. And I would like to say thank you to you all for coming. So thank you. I've been Hannah Lanfear. Don't be strangers. If you'd like to stay in touch, I'll hang around for a little bit.